My name is Jack Shepherd, and joining me as ever is my co-host, Arun.
Alright.
Alright
then.
I'm alright. Yeah, that's better.
Have a sore throat or?
Well, I thought I'd do a little special Halloween introduction for our Halloween episode.
Yeah, awesome.
Anyway, how's your week been?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good week. Yeah, how about you?
That's just good. Do you want to elaborate on that?
I mean, I don't know what to say apart from going into personal details about my life, which I'm not willing to do in this podcast.
Okay.
I mean, it's been a good week for films, but yeah, no. So I went to see Jigsaw yesterday. That was fun. How about you? How are you?
I'm alright. I emailed Marty.
Oh yes.
Marty
How's he
Christopher,
doing?
what's his face? Like I said last week, our biggest fan who wants to promote us.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
doesn't quite want to be our manager yet, but
Yeah.
who knows, maybe. So shall I read this email out?
Well, what did you say to him?
I'm particularly proud of this email because I thought I'll make us sound as dickish as possible.
Okay,
And
awesome.
I'm pretty impressed. First of all, I wrote it in first person rather than, is it fourth person? When you say we and our.
Just plural.
No, there must be a name for it because otherwise it's singular. The first person singular.
So
Anyway,
plural, is it?
so that but yeah, and because that's how he wrote his message, so I'll continue that. So I said, "Hi Marty, I'm glad you like my songs because I liked your offer. Colour me interested." And I put that in there because I think anyone who says "colour me interested" is a massive twat.
Well, this is what a lot of those emails, you know, those junk emails you get, sort of like, "Hi, I have to sort of get rid of 10 grand. Can I deposit in your account, please?" The grammar and spelling and all like syntax is deliberately done in an off-kilter, really poor way because the people who write those emails figure that if you're stupid enough to buy into the way that they're written and the lack of sense that they make, then you're also stupid enough to buy into their schemes.
That's pretty clever in a way. Clever in a completely idiotic way.
Yeah.
But, anyway, so then I went, what's our next step? What's the next step in our partnership together? You know, suggesting we've got a long career in the future. And I said, yours sincerely, and I signed it off, Mr. Mould Peril.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, make it our first name is May Contain.
Yeah.
And then he replied, he said, music promotion, RE promotion.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for getting back to me. Let me take a minute to fill you in on how our service works and how I can get more music. It's very sort of, blah, 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 blah. It can be hard to get tracks listened to. It keeps talking about music, so it's clear you have no idea what we do.
Yeah.
We've developed music promotion and etc. Target shoes, and we can give you lots of viewers or whatever. And then he says this could be a great opportunity to gain new fans. No, sorry. This could be a great opportunity to gain news fans. Yeah. So I see you may have listened to our podcast. We did the news segment.
Yeah.
Since that might be our most popular.
Who knows?
People like.
God help anyone who gets their film news from us.
Yeah, and start growing a serious following. If you're interested, you can start promoting your SoundCloud tracks directly from our website. Yeah. If you have any further questions, blah blah blah. But then you know how before he was very friendly, he signed it Marty. Yeah. This time he says, "Regards, next gen promotions." Yeah, good.
You're gonna get back to him.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Keep it going as long as you can go.
What should we say?
Just say, listen. Want the viewers and listeners to go up? How can you help us?
All right.
Yeah.
I'll report back next week again.
Great. Yes.
Right.
The saga continues.
Shall we do our? Well, you didn't like the term letterbox listings.
I don't mind it.
And then
I don't mind it.
No, you. All right. Well,
no.
So are we keeping that name?
Yeah.
Let's
keep it going. I haven't got one.
All right. So what have you been?
I watched White Zombie in the spirit of the Halloween week, which didn't quite go to plan because.
Did we mention this? Maybe we did mention it last week, and maybe it was off air that we said we're going to both watch a lot of horror films this week. Yeah. And I did, and you.
I mean, how many did you watch this week?
I watched 5. I think 5, including the one for the main event. 4 or 5 I watched.
Yeah. See, I watched sort of 5 as well. So if you include Splatter, which first I'll get to White Zombie, which is basically a film which name is taken by a band called White Zombie, who I'm a really big fan of, which featured Rob Zombie in the band. They have a sort of metal, sludge metal band. Rob Zombie is in that band. Of course, you know Rob Zombie is the director of the Halloween reboot, the famously bad Halloween reboot. But this White Zombie film from 1932, which you can find on Amazon Prime and even YouTube. Short, but also really quite weird. I think it works in favour of the really sort of jumpy texture that it being sort of old film gives it, if you know what I mean. That sort of like unhinged way that the characters move, because the technology isn't quite there yet, where movement is fluid, and it sort of revolves around voodoo as well, which is I think is quite an interesting metaphor for a lot of things going on in early 1930s America. So the way that people turn towards forms of Christianity in the Depression to sort of as an outlet for their frustrations in life, and this one really sort of looks into that in a interesting and just generally quite. I mean, it's not scary, but it's horrible.
So is it a zombie film?
Yeah. Because, one of the first, yeah.
Because I thought that like what we typically see as zombies, that wasn't really properly formed until George Romero's.
No. But this is more sort of voodoo-y.
So it's like
people,
traditional zombies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. What about you? What did you?
Well, you spoke about the Halloween reboot.
Yeah.
I watched the original Halloween film.
Yeah, great, isn't it?
It's fine. I think the thing is, there's it's basically just, and we'll get on to this. I'll talk more about this when we get on to Martyrs. But it does just feel like it's very basic on plot, and it's just kind of about the thrills. Like there's no substance to it beyond that. It's just about a guy, like a psychopath, trying to kill people. What
did you want from it that it didn't give you then?
I wanted there to be like, I don't know, a meaning behind it, actually. Like, you had Donald Pleasant's character.
Yeah.
Who is a psychiatrist.
Loomis. That's his name, is it? Loomis, yeah. Loomis.
And I thought maybe he would give some exposition about Michael Myers or who's a serial killer.
Yeah.
Or sort of, there'll be sort of more meaning behind what he's doing. But there wasn't really anything. He just, he used to live in the area where he's now killing people, and that's about it. And then all Loomis does is arrive and shoot him.
You also watched Scream 2 and 3 this week, didn't you?
I did watch Scream 2 and 3.
What would you say is the difference between did you think Scream had more substance than Halloween?
Well, yeah, because I think the character's more interesting.
Okay.
The thing is, I've seen 3 Scream films now. I've only seen 1 Halloween. So
but still, like, I mean...
Yeah, but you get to know the characters more, like, in the sequels, don't you? Because you spend more time with it.
Yeah, although, I mean, I'm just talking like, if you were to compare the best Scream film with the best, with Halloween, what does Scream do in sort of, like, the way it presents the killings that Halloween lacks?
Well, because it's very meta and very sort of, it's winking at the audience, it's got this, it's basically, well, particularly the first one, when they've got Halloween showing on screen as the killer's killing, this killer's killing people, it's very sort of self-aware that it's a horror film, and so I think it does, it does something above just this standard sort of killing bit, and also it's a lot more fun.
But I think that's what makes Halloween so scary, is because the killer doesn't necessarily need a particular sort of reason and backgrounding in order to kill.
I don't think that's a good excuse. I don't like films like that.
Why not?
Because that's not where I get enjoyment from. I like to know about the characters, why they're like how they are.
Okay,
I realise that's not what the film's trying to do, and I'm not begrudging that, but that's not my personal taste, so I can't enjoy it from the. Well, I did it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but it's something I dislike films doing, so I can't.
Do you like Seven, the David Fincher film? The Kevin Spacey character, his motive is not clear.
It's not, but he's
barely in the film. In fact, he's in the film as much as Michael Myers is in this film.
Yeah, but he is. Seven's about tracking him. It's not about him.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but like they're still both antagonists.
They are.
So what makes his sort of more.
Kevin's face is a lot more charismatic in that film and intriguing, I guess.
Yeah, Michael Myers. I don't know, because I'm just trying to pin down, because I think Halloween is sort of one of the 5 best horror movies, American horror movies.
What have I written down? Let me see. Yeah, so it's a bit basic although effective horror film, and it's a clear trope setter for later films.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Particularly,
it set the bar.
Yeah, I mean, the only horror film I've seen before that is maybe The Haunting. I mean, made before that.
Yeah.
And you can tell that what's her name, Jamie Curtis's.
Yeah.
Her character's, she's not just a scream queen. She stands up for herself in a little way, or at least tries to.
Yeah.
And you can see she's sort of like a prototype for Ripley in the films, and what that kind of.
You can see definitely how. That's what I enjoyed about watching it so much. You can see sort of where the blueprint was set, and I think John Carpenter is shows an absolute sort of mastery. And I'd go as far to say he shows as much mastery of horror as Hitchcock does over suspense. So you just see the way that he sort of is able to conjure up absolute fear is just perfect. And there's something, although some parts of the film are quite dated, namely the actual violence,
yeah.
and some of the references obviously, but I do think there's some things that will not date about that film, and you sort of see it still everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's not true. It just wasn't asking the questions I wanted asked or answered.
Yeah. What questions were those?
Well, I said why this killer's killing, or at least why Loomis has this fascination with him.
Yeah.
Even before he escaped.
Yeah.
They have this relationship.
I don't really think sort of. But personally,
since you mentioned it, shall I talk about Scream 2 and 3 as well?
Yeah.
I've got a lot more.
Can you rank them first? So can I give my ranking?
What
of the Scream films, starting from the top?
Don't include 4 because
I'm going to include 4.
I'm going to watch 4 next week.
It goes 2, 1, 3, 4. 2 being the best.
I was going to say 2, 1, 3.
Yeah. So 4's awful. 4's not awful. It's just unnecessary.
I will. All right. So I think both of them are just as much fun as the first one. And like I said, I think this franchise is very tongue in cheek, and it's got all these references to other horror films, and it's that's what I like, is that it's fun. It's scary, but at the same time, you're not just terrified the whole time. I think the characters are a lot more developed and likable than in a lot of horror films. Right. And I'm not saying they're entirely three-dimensional, but they've got backgrounds and they've got their own personalities. And I also like the fact that they win at the end of every film.
Okay.
I like to
horror movie, not a fairy tale.
Yeah, but I like a happy ending. That's not. That's not So anyway, yeah. Let me say that I think the second film is a lot stronger than the third film. Besides Jada Smith's terrible accent at the beginning, she is absolutely horrendous. She is the worst thing about the franchise so far. Yeah, I think she was absolutely. I haven't seen many of her films, but most of the films I've seen her in, she's terrible in.
Really? Do you not like her as Gloria in Madagascar?
She's when that's animated, she's the fourth protagonist of that film.
And I liked her in Collateral.
I haven't seen Collateral. Have I? I think I have actually. I can't remember. But yeah, anyway, I think the third one's been quite panned. But I do like it. I think it's still enjoyable. But I think if that film was the first in the franchise, I probably wouldn't like it as much, because I think the reason I liked it so much was because I like the characters and enjoy being in their presence. Yeah,
definitely.
And so if they weren't already developed, then I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Scream. I like Scream a lot. And the more horror I watch, the more I appreciate Scream, because when you look at Wes Craven's body of work, and particularly Nightmare on Elm Street, you can see that this is a guy who knows his shit. He understands the genre inside out, and only someone like him could have made it. Which I do think is part of the reason why the reboot sort of didn't really.
Have you seen Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
No.
I'm really interested to see that because that's kind of like a prototype Scream. That's what gave him the idea for Scream.
Okay.
Do you know what it's about?
No,
it's about Freddy Krueger killing the cast of the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, okay.
It's like Johnny. I don't know if Johnny Depp's in it, but a lot of the. I think Wes Craven plays himself in it.
Doesn't he? Awesome.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
It sounds really good. So he did that as a satire on horror films, and then after he did that, he then did Scream, which was a even more meta satire on horror films.
Yeah.
And he really kind of. Yeah, like you said, he really knows his stuff.
Yeah, and the TV show, like I said last week, pretty good actually. Pretty good. I mean, he sort of it's not like sort of he's not going to win any Emmys, but like it's good. Yeah. So shall I talk about some more horror that I watched there?
Yeah, sure.
I'll get into my favourite one a bit later, but I watched Splatter, which is this sort of really weird. Like, it's like 40 minutes long on Netflix, and it's just. Why was this made? I have no idea why it was made.
Was it a recent release?
2009, and it's directed by Joe Dante, who directed The Gremlins. But yeah, so this one's basically about a rock star who dies, and a group of people come to his funeral. Basically, the rock star dies, and a group of mates come, and so they no, rest in peace, all that kind of stuff. And then he appears on the TV screen being like, you all going to pay for the sins you committed against me. And then everyone just sort of dies in the most sort of horrible, gruesome way. Like his attorney, his therapist goes into a phone box and gets electrocuted really slowly, like sort of really violently, sort of like his skin starts to pop and like blood starts to sort of. I mean, it's just a sort of really schlocky, gruesome, video nasty style horror, like the sort of ones that you like. Basically, what Roger Corman got known for, because Roger Corman basically is a super producer who started off a lot of director and actors' careers back in the day, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, for half an hour, why not? I mean, it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. Yeah, why not? And that I had a lot of fun. And I also saw, which I know you like, It Follows.
Yeah, I do really like It Follows.
Yeah, really good. Enjoyed it a lot actually. What do you think it is?
I felt I got to eat my own words here because I said earlier I'd like exploring what these creatures and characters are, but then with this film I don't think it really matters.
Do you not?
Because I think
there's a few theories out there that I have a friend who I would definitely want to invite on the podcast. He's a horror nut, and we were talking about this. Basically, he's in Liverpool, unfortunately, so I can't really invite him down. Yeah, we had a sort of chat about the theories about what it is. But what were you saying anyway before that?
I was going to say, I think the reason why I'd like to explore the origins. I like characters to be explained with like Mars and Halloween and the Xenomorph Alien is because those original films, they tease about the origins, and so I want to know more, and I don't like it when it doesn't give you more. And they
you don't like mystery in your films.
Not when it teases stuff and then says, "Oh, it doesn't matter."
The paradigmatic sort of teasing is the sort of open ending. So you're not really a fan of open endings.
Oh well, okay. It follows. It's a closed narrative, but then it does tease something at the end, and I think that's okay. But if it just ends on a complete cliffhanger, then I like Halloween does, then not so much. Yeah.
So. The Empire Strikes Back.
But that doesn't. That ends. So that's got a resolution to it.
Ends on a cliffhanger.
It doesn't really.
It ends in hand. So it
ends on a cliffhanger.
Do you know Empire Strikes Back doesn't end on a cliffhanger?
Oh, it does. No, it does end on a cliffhanger, but it doesn't. It also ends with resolution because Luke goes back to his friends and they resolve to find Han Solo.
Still ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but it doesn't end like Halloween. If it ended like Halloween, it would end with Luke Skywalker having his hand chopped off.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that I think often like having ambiguities in a film helps it, which I think is true of, which is why I ask you what it is in the film. It Follows, because it's just really good thing to talk about, like and like I like sort of doing that with films, you know, like looking at what is unclear and trying to unpick that. As long as the film presents enough of it to begin a discussion, then I don't see a problem with it. Yeah,
okay. No, I agree with that, but then I don't think Alien and I'm just using these examples, but I do think they hold true that they don't present enough to warrant discussion.
What don't?
Oh, maybe I don't know. Shall we talk about it first? What do you think the creature is?
I like the theory that it is basically about AIDS. Because it seems to be the whole film seems to be about basically sexually transmitted diseases and the social attitudes towards them, right? And how like intimacy becomes how intimacy becomes manifested as something like a STI, which has a sort of societal backlash. I quite like that theory.
Maybe, but then you have the characters who are keen to pass it on to, the guy who fancies... what's the main character's name?
I don't know.
The guy who fancies the main character, and he offers to have sex with her to keep passing it on.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't really line up with the AIDS theory.
Why not?
Well, because you don't have sex with people to pass on AIDS.
But the director said that he really sort of doesn't really care about where it comes from. Basically, he said that sort of it's like everyone in the film is basically living in a nightmare, and we can't solve nightmares. And the way that he did say though that the way that people sort of open themselves up to danger in the film is via sex, and that's also the way that she can free herself from the danger, like you said with the guy she fancies offering to sort of fuck her to save her. And that's the whole point. Like, basically, love and sex are two ways we can push death away. His words, not mine.
Yeah, no, I've read that. Great.
Quite interesting.
It's a bit weird, but
I really enjoyed it. I mean, that's what, because on one level you can have that sort of, ooh, what is this about discussion. On another level, it's just generally quite enjoyable for how it's sort of quite creepy.
Yeah. And
like how it sustains its creepiness throughout the whole film. I mean, it loses its way a little bit towards the end, but I liked it. I did like it. And I saw Jigsaw. Should I talk about that? I mean, which I think also provides a nice counterpoint to Martyrs, which we'll discuss later. But that's the film that literally, I went to see it with a friend, and on the journey back, we were just sort of, it has a massive twist at the end, and we were just sort of unpicking it, and it was just great. I mean, it Saw as a prime example of a film where it's like, oh my god, why did they not do that to escape? Because you know what basically Saw is about.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, yeah. Tell me anyway. I don't.
Yeah. Basically, a group of people are trapped in a house or a sort of dungeon, and they have to escape the dungeon by doing a series of games. They've all committed past sins, and Jigsaw is a sort of game master. And they have to basically do these like twisted games. So in this one, it starts off with everyone being with a bucket on their head, chained by the neck to a wall. And on that wall, it's got razors which turn really quickly, and they have to cut themselves before they basically get sliced open. And so what happens is that they'll cut themselves, but obviously they're fucking stupid. So like they cut them. If you had to cut yourself, where would you cut yourself?
Like your finger?
Your pinky. No, straight in there with the arm, straight in there with the back. Like, so I mean, that's an example of sort of like, oh, why didn't they just? Also, why didn't they use a blade to cut the bloody chains? But like that's part of the fun of it, and I think that's what it does quite well. This film, and like many of the other Saws, I've seen all of them, but the 3D one, thanks to a marathon session. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of holes in the movie, but like. It's all part. It's not a great movie, but I think this is one thing that these sort of horror torture porn movies do quite well. They're not there to be high art, and they set that stall up very quickly. And one thing that they do compensate for with their flaws is their post-movie chat value, which I think this one still manages to retain.
So is it kind of like so bad it's good, or is it not quite that bad?
Yeah, probably that bad. No, it's not quite that bad. It's not quite that bad. And yeah, I mean, it's 7 films later.
Shall we quickly run through the non-horror films we've watched?
Yeah, you go ahead, yeah.
It's alright, you can go first.
No, I've spoken about Jigsaw and...
Alright, so the only non-horror films I've really seen are... We'll talk about last week, the directors that we've seen their complete filmography of. I've now seen the complete filmography, or feature film filmography of Taika Waititi.
Woo.
So I watched Boy and Eagle versus Shark.
They're screening Boy again at Prince Charles.
It's the first time. They didn't get a UK distribution.
Oh, did they not?
This
Okay.
is the first time it's
Oh,
been shown.
awesome.
But yeah, Boy is. I was writing notes for this, and it made me realise that both Eagle versus Shark and Boy, and also Hunt for the Wilder People.
What's Eagle vs Shark? His other film. I've seen Eagle vs Shark.
Yeah.
For the benefit. It's not very good.
It's not great, but they're all three of them are about a son trying to. It's about a son's relationship with his father, and also Thor Ragnarok is to some extent about that as well.
Yeah,
like 4 out of 5 of Taika Waititi's films has got that sort of random feeling, which I find quite.
Is there a reason for that? Do you know?
I don't know. I just something I realised.
Yeah, I don't know. You might have spoken about,
but like
someone must have asked.
Eagle versus Shark is about a son trying to impress his father,
Mm.
but Boy's about a son realising that his father isn't the hero he thought he was.
Yeah,
and that's so you've got these two kind of different perspectives. But Boy is like Hunt for the Wilder People. I still think is Taika Waititi's best film.
Mm.
But Boy is a very good coming of age film, and yeah, it's got a very sort of emotional and probably Taika Waititi's best performance because he plays the father.
Yeah,
and he's very good.
Is it funny?
But, yes, but it's also quite tragic and heartbreaking as moments as well.
Mm.
It just, yeah, I don't think any of his films are an out and out comedy. Like they have moments of pathos as well. Yeah, I think Boy I'd definitely recommend.
They do want to rank his films then. 1 to 5.
Okay. I'd say reverse order: Eagle versus Shark, then What We Do in the Shadows, then Boy, then Thor Ragnarok, and then Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, basically, I feel like could have just been a TV special, TV episode, or even a comedy sketch.
It's got moments. It's got its moments. Well, it was a short film. It was like a half an hour film, and then they expanded it.
Yeah.
It's got its moments, but it is basically just one. Like it's just a group of set pieces with just mundane filler between them. It's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, let's not talk about that film because neither of us have seen it this week.
Yeah. No. Right.
Do you want to?
Yes, I saw Death of Stalin on Monday. I won't say much more because I liked it for many of the same reasons you did, but one thing I didn't like was the references to various paedophilia. Although I think they're sort of it is historically pertinent, it just felt out of place with the rest of the film because the tone with which it was done was not with the seriousness of the murder of Russian citizens, which happens later on in the film. And it's not done with the in the satiricized way. So it sort of has this weird place in the film where it's sort of half referenced that and kind of jolts the rhythm of the film. It doesn't fit into either of the two places that the film seems to move between the sort of travesties of the actual government and the humour in the negotiations. It just seems sort of out of place. And I understand it happened and I understand it's really bad. That Barry did this, it just didn't. It didn't get its due treatment or a serious. It just seemed like misplaced.
I don't know because I don't think you can represent Barry without saying it, without mentioning or some way hinting at that. But I also think that the fact that it just hints at it and it doesn't really go into detail is kind of quite haunting in a way because it's left to you to kind of fill in the blanks.
I understand that. I get that, but
I think the cat. Well, from what I remember, the characters, they don't really joke about it, but I think there is 1 or 2 lines that kind of hint that they.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get a proper treatment. It's a serious thing. You either leave it out or give it its due treatment. Have you looked at the reception to this movie from there's a bit of controversy about it. Have you heard much about it?
Yes, I have. Well, you say controversy. It's really just Peter Hitchens, isn't it?
It is as sort of most vocal, but
and also I think his is probably the weakest complaint as well.
Well, first of all, what is Peter Hitchens?
So
what does Peter Hitchens say?
He has. First of all, he tweeted. I'm guessing he tweeted first, and it was followed by an article.
Yeah.
About because I didn't know about the article. I only knew about the tweet. He said his I'm paraphrasing here. So like, it's poor taste to make a comedy about Stalin's death. You wouldn't make a comedy about Hitler's death. And then people, because Twitter normally replies quite slowly to stuff, but for some reason with this, they were right on it. They obviously mentioned the downfall meme, or it's not meme, is it like parody videos that are out there?
That's not a film, though.
That's what they. I'm just giving you facts.
Yeah,
That's what they quoted. And Arun Iannucci himself responded by posting one of those videos.
Yeah.
And also they mentioned Look Who's Talking, which is a parody about Hitler returning to
the present day.
Yeah. Do you want to say what Peter Hitchens said when he expanded it in the article?
Okay, yes. No, I do think, obviously Peter Hitchens is all, people are going to disagree with him before anyone's heard what he has to say. It's quite unfortunate. I do think it's wrong, though.
I don't think anything he says.
No, I do. I read the article, and I do think there are some things that I do agree with him on. I mean, his general point is that trivialising the death, which he repeats in bold throughout the entire article, basically, trivialising the deaths of the victims is the same as doing the same to the deaths of his victims. Right?
Trivialising the death
of his victims
is the same as doing the same
to the death of his victims.
What do you mean?
It's basically trivialising a serious issue, basically. He mentions a point, and I do disagree with a lot of him. I think, Peter Bradshaw's defence was even worse, to be fair. Did you read it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, God, if you don't. Basically, he mentioned some writer who, in experiencing trauma, turned it into comedy. And that was a kind of therapeutic way of dealing with it. Now, that's totally misplaced.
I do think, what's the point? That is the whole point of satire, is to highlight controversy and, noteworthy subject matter, I guess, by poking fun at it.
Yeah. No, you're right. But what Peter Bradshaw is saying, it has a therapeutic effect.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't responding to that. I was responding more to what.
Okay. Which is, again, yes, was Arun Iannucci around in Soviet Russia? No. Are Russian people going to watch this and view? Well, actually, what's quite interesting is the Russian reaction. There's a semblance of sort of indifference and a little bit of outrage. But generally, which again mirrors, it's brought to light, especially with it being 2017 100th anniversary of the 1917 revolution.
Yeah. It's
brought to light, basically, the sort of divisive shadow Stalin cast over modern Russia, which I think is quite interesting. Which isn't the purpose of the film, but Iannucci has been to Russia, spoken to Russians about the film, we've seen it, and it's going to come out there next year because generally the response has been quite positive, which I guess is good. Another thing point that Hitchens makes is that it uses the F word, I'm quoting him here, repeatedly to jolt the semblance of laughter from its audience. Much as you might make a corpse twitch with seeming life by plugging it into the national grid. That hits the nail on the head.
I think that was his worst argument.
Really?
Because it's not... Profanity is in itself funny, and it's not like he...
Yeah, but it's cheap. It's cheap.
It's not cheap, though. I don't think it is cheap. I think it shows... I think it's cheap. No, I think it shows pettiness to be offended by swearing.
He's not offended by it. He's not saying he's offended by it. He's just saying it's a sort of lazy way of eliciting humour, which it is. And there's no denying.
You didn't find it funny?
I found it funny, but I agree.
What's the point? Well, what's the problem with it then?
It's lazy. I'm just saying it's lazy.
I don't think it is lazy.
Yeah, come on, chuck a few F words in between the vowels.
But it works in the context of the film.
No, it doesn't.
It's not just...
No, but it
wasn't like... Oh, this is a bit of a dry moment, I'll throw some F words in to make it funny.
Well, it is.
It's not.
Because a lot of this film is people in rooms talking. And in order to sort of corral up a little bit of atmosphere, he chuck a few F-bombs in the mix. And that becomes tiresome as the film wears on.
I don't think it is. And also, that's a staple of Martin Iannucci. And, if you look at Malcolm Tucker or the swearing they use at Veep, that is very cleverly done. How it's worded, it's almost like poetry.
We're not watching. I'm not reviewing Veep here. I'm reviewing Death of Stalin.
It's like saying, I like that Christopher Nolan film, but I wish he didn't do all those massive plot twists. It's like, well, that's what Christopher Nolan does. I like Quentin Tarantino.
No, it's not the same as that. No, it's not the same.
It is.
No. Well, what it is that sort of A signature of the directors is employed again by the director, but the way it's employed this time as opposed to that time is done differently in a way that is not as effective. That's basically what I'm saying. I understand that Iannucci...
I don't think it is any less effective.
Pardon?
I don't think it is any less effective.
I think it wears off. A lot of this film, because it lacks the sort of intrigue that accompanies the thick of it, I think. The intrigue is sort of, in this film, there's no real suspense built up. There's no real sort of like...
No.
As a result of that, I do think it becomes quite tiresome. Anyway, I also watched another horror which absolutely sort of blew me away. It's re-released on Halloween in Odeon. Perfect Blue, which is this anime. It's just incredible. It was just like one of the, just a totally like original, like indescribable film. Basically about a pop singer who decides she wants to be an actress called Mima, and it's about her sense of reality beginning to sort of shake and fall away when she's getting stalked by an obsessed fan, while being sort of haunted by her own reflections of the past, and it just becomes a really sort of psychological trip. Now I need to see everything that the director Satoshi Kon has done, like Paprika, Millennium.
So it's an anime.
Yeah, and it's
scary.
It's absolutely incredible.
Is it scary though?
Yeah. Psychologically, it's a fucked up film. It's a fucked up.
To be fair, like, a lot of animes are quite fucked up.
No, but this is sort of next level because it's just so inventive. It's crazy. But that sort of led me to think like what my favourite like non-Studio Ghibli, just because like you know you got to draw a line. Like favourite like non-Studio Ghibli anime films are. I was wondering what, because this is up there now. This sort of it's sophisticated. It sort of has something to say about our obsession with internet culture, about pop idols, about perceptions of reality not being trusted, and psychodrama with kind of interesting stuff that's thrown in. So it's up there. But like, what are your favourite sort of non-Studio Ghibli like anime? Have you like, because Studio Ghibli anime, when you think of like anime movies that are sort of regarded quite well in the West, the first thing that comes to mind is sort of Studio Ghibli, right? You know.
Yeah.
But like sort of pushing that aside, because we could do a whole episode of Studio Ghibli. What sort of like animes are you?
I haven't seen that many of them. I haven't seen many animes in general.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't think I can really.
No, fair enough. It's sort of a weird thing because it's such a like massive. Like, do you know people that like anime? Or like watch sort of anime series?
Yes, kind of. Not well. I don't know what. Yeah, no one I know well.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be. It does seem to be a massive Marmite kind of. I won't use that reference because you won't really get it outside the UK. But there does seem to be a massive sort of love it or hate it attitude towards that.
Yeah.
And I kind of fall in the middle. But I like when I come across an anime film, I tend to quite like it. Or like but like I'm not passionate about anime that I want to see everything. I certainly don't. I wouldn't be interested in watching an anime TV show.
No. I mean, I have some friends who are really obsessed with it, and like it's just a wormhole. Like they all start off somewhere, and then they end up just going into this sort of like I said, like a wormhole of just like so many different stuff out there, like so many theories that last forever. And as for movies, like there's just so much sort of cultural like subtext you need to understand in order to really become. I wouldn't go as far as to say connoisseur, but like a real fan of it, which I wouldn't consider myself that. I've seen like most of the anime films which are regarded as like the best anime films, but I know that is only the tip of the iceberg because these movies are sort of they're churned out in Japan. But it was something that definitely be interesting, like films like this. I couldn't watch them every day. Like they're too much head trip, and I sort of one of those films where you just sort of you step out of the room and just like whoa, what have I seen? But yeah, it makes me more encouraged to sort of dig a little bit deeper.
My favourite anime films tend to be the ones that are less focused on mythology and kind of fantasy.
So the more westernised ones?
Not so much that. More like Your Name, I quite like.
Yeah, Your Name. I haven't seen that yet.
No, there's a couple. But there's ones I'm interested in, like Only Yesterday, I want to see.
Yes, great film.
Which it isn't really about mythology.
Yeah.
And what's the one about the planes?
Castle in the Sky?
No. Something about wind.
Oh, Wind Rises.
Yeah,
that's a Studio Ghibli. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Studio Ghibli. I like. What's the film I think of that I do like? Shall we just move on? I did want to say quickly in terms of TV that because I said last week that I started watching The Good Place.
Yeah.
And I said it's very good, but it's kind of quite standard and doesn't really do much original. It's not particularly original besides a basic concept.
Well, if you want non-standard original comedy, Curb Your Enthusiasm is a show for you.
You mention that every week now.
Because it's bloody brilliant. Last week's episode, fantastic.
No, okay. So what? Following on from what I said last week, I'm almost up to date now. I've got one episode to go, and then I'll be up to date. But I completely changed my mind. Towards the end of the first season, it does something very incredible and weird, and it kind of flips itself on its head. And it's like since then, it's been a lot. It wasn't bad to start with, but it's been a lot more original and interesting. And I'm very interested where it goes. Like very few sitcoms you watch because you want to know where the plot's going to be headed. You just watch for the laughs. Whereas this.
I think the best ones do that though.
Yeah, that's true. But the best ones probably if you remove the comedy, you'll still be interested in watching it. And I think that's definitely true. But
it's like if Arrested Development, like if you remove the comedy, that'd just be really sad.
Yeah.
Like this, it sounds like family tragedy.
If this was a drama, it would still be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I will check it. I'm the only one in my family who doesn't watch it. Strangely. And I'm too late now, so I keep walking in on my family watching.
Well, it's on every week, so once you've caught up, you can watch it with them.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the main event then?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So, do you want to introduce it because it's your choice?
Yes. We saw Martyrs, or we experienced Martyrs. Me for the second time, you for the first, and basically this is a film that is one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen, definitely, and is known sort of, when it first screened at Cannes, people were fainting. Basically, it's about a young woman who looks for revenge against people who kidnapped and tortured her as a child, who's also a victim of child abuse. That is how the film starts. It's all out at the beginning, and then it just descends into this hopeless, deprived experience, and it belongs to this weird horror subgenre, which is why I thought it would be really cool to discuss it on this podcast, called New French Extremism. And I'll use the quote from the writer who defined it. Basically said that this is when cinema was suddenly determined to break every taboo, to wade in rivers of viscera and spumes of sperm, to fill each frame with flesh, nubile or gnarled, and subject it to all manner of penetration, mutilation, and defilement. I think that sums up basically this film and the genre that it belongs in. What did you think of it? First of all, before you say that, did you watch it all without checking phone, without sort of looking away? Did you sort of force yourself to experience it all uninterrupted? Were there any moments that you were like, oh?
Well, yeah, obviously I looked away because it's the nature of the film. But I don't. Well, from what you're saying, I didn't find it that disturbing.
Really?
I mean, I did. You said last week that it stayed with you for ages after. It haunted you, is what I got.
It haunted me last night. I couldn't get to sleep last night.
It was disturbing watching it because, if you knew the nature of the film. But I think, so I think, without spoiling it, obviously because of the nature of what happens, it disturbed me while I was watching it. But it didn't really stay with me afterwards. I was quite... like I've said before, that the horror films don't really tend to scare me anyway. But it didn't really...
Really? I thought you said you had to watch happy movies after horror movies.
No, not horror movies necessarily, but just depressing movies.
This is a horror movie, though?
Yeah, that's what I said, not necessarily.
Oh, okay, right.
I found this film... I think it is 2/3 of a good horror film, and then the last act, it kind of ruins itself.
Okay. What was it that you didn't like about it?
I can't really get into that without spoiling it. Let's talk about what you can talk about without spoiling it.
Okay, I thought this film was sort of very difficult. But what it does is it takes horror, all the various strands of horror that are floating around at the time and that have been gestating over the last sort of few decades. It ties them all up, and I'm thinking basically of body horror, torture porn, exploitation cinema, and home invasion, and it ties them all up. And this film represents the logical end to that narrative of horror as a genre.
You say it represents a narrative end, but it represents a narrative end of... Okay, I'll say that body horror, I think, is a legitimate form of cinema. And what's it you said? Body horror, torture porn.
Yeah.
What are the other ones you said?
Exploitation cinema and home invasion.
I think, well, particularly torture porn, that's not legitimate cinema, really.
Why not?
Because it's just brutality for brutality's sake.
But we watch a lot of things for brutality.
As well.
We watch well, yes, but I think this sort of takes torture porn to its logical end. So it's not torture porn. It's torture without the porn. It's torture without the porn.
I think
because at no point in this film, like Saw, which is a typical torture porn example, are you encouraged to revel in the violence. You're never encouraged to do that in this film.
No, I disagree. Okay. Otherwise, I don't see the point of the violence unless you're meant to revel in it.
Why not?
What's it? No, that's the question you've got to answer. What is this film trying to do?
Well, this film is saying
to revel in the violence.
Well, okay. First of all, I think if we're gonna ask that question with the sort of supposition that violence should always have a point, then you're starting from this film.
But yeah, so the only point it can logically have is for the audience's enjoyment. In that case, if it doesn't have a point in itself.
Well, okay, let's track back a bit. I don't think.
Why is the violence in the film?
Well, let me talk, and then I'll sort of, and then I'll get to it. Basically, I think if we're gonna presuppose that violence should have a point, and that point is enjoyment, then we're already starting off incorrectly with this film, because this comes from the strain of films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in which they were not enjoyable. The violence was, and it prompted a very similar reaction to Martyrs when it first came out, because they set up what they want to do is they want to shock you by shocking you, not by encouraging you to enjoy the violence that they represent. And this is done through like a relationship of dominance, which you're encouraged to participate in, which is what I think makes you feel really, really uncomfortable during those sort of films. You are encouraged to participate in so for example, there are scenes of sort of like, this isn't spoiling it, but a sort of big guy like repeatedly like beating the shit out of this young girl. You're encouraged to participate in that, but you're not but it's not like Saw, which I think Jigsaw's quite a useful comparison, where like the violence is done as sort of like a payoff for a set of circumstances which come about, and you enjoy following to the end. There's nothing about this which you're sort of enjoying.
I completely disagree in that. Oh, so no, certainly I didn't enjoy the violence, but I think this is trying to appeal to people who enjoy torture porn, and it wants to be this kind of nasty sort of like snuff movie torture porn, like illicit kind of film. It's trying to appeal to a grotesque kind of audience, I think.
Right. And what do you mean by grotesque kind of audience?
What I wanted to get about with your point is that I don't think we're meant to feel dominant. I think we're meant to feel submissive, because we're not. The film's not from the perspective of the torturer. It's from the perspective of the
no. We are meant to, but the way we feel submissive is by taking the perspective of watching the dominance take place. That's what I'm saying. You submit to the dominance by participating in the dominance, which is
we participate. You mean we participate in the torture rather than...
No, we don't. No, come on. We don't participate in the torture. We participate in watching someone dominate another person. So by participating in that as a witness to this domination, you also submit to that domination.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know, like, because this film was awful for me. Like, it was really like horrible and difficult to watch, and I think part of the reason that was because it was this emotional. Everything was weighted with this emotional gravitas, which made it even more effective. So, like, I don't really get that with films like Hostel and Saw, where it's just sort of the violence is sort of like quite like nihilistic. Like, there's nothing really sort of you're encouraged to sort of enjoy the painful scenes. Here, you're sort of encouraged to like identify with the torture, like we've spoken about. It's just plain torture, which makes it like so difficult to watch.
I think, can we get, because I think what we're mainly talking about is the last act of the film at the moment.
I think no.
And I think there's a separate film in the first two acts which I want to talk about more.
Yeah, cool.
Because the first two acts are kind of, they're definitely I'd say they're more of a horror film, but they're also kind of a thriller in the fact that that's definitely when the plot takes place in the first two acts.
I think it advances in the third act.
No, I don't. Well, I don't want to talk. I want to say what I like about the first two acts.
Okay, go ahead.
That's the bits of the film that I did actually like.
Okay.
Because I think I like the fact, the sort of twists that. Well, I'll get onto the twist, but I think I like the fact that a lot of what's going on, you don't know if it's actually happening, if it's supernatural, or if it's just all in the characters' minds.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite, pretty much everything. You're not, because it starts off very, ignoring the sort of prologue of the film, it starts off very brutally, and, there's a tiny bit of, not even exposition, just a tiny bit of scene setting at the start, and then something bang, you're right in the middle of the action. And I think and from that point on, it's impossible to tell, because you're not introduced to the characters, it's just this immediate, you're pulled into the film, and then you sort of have to figure out everything else as you're going on.
Yeah. No, I do really sort of piece it together. Yeah.
And so by the end of the second act, it does kind of feel like a complete film.
Yeah. I think that, I do. Yeah, you're right, but I do think there's some. I like where it goes in the third act. I think I can understand why it went there, and I can appreciate why it went there.
I don't. Besides trying to shock and scare the audience, I don't really know what it's trying to achieve in that last act.
But what's it trying to achieve before that?
Okay, throughout the whole film, I don't really understand what it's trying to achieve. Besides,
but then doesn't that prompt a deeper question of what is horror trying to achieve?
I was going to ask that deeper question later on. So
yeah, well, what do you think horror as a genre is there to achieve? Because if we go right back to the beginning and look at what horror film is defined as, it's a film that seeks to elicit a physiological reaction. That's how it's defined.
I think we should leave this to the end. Talk about the film now and then. Because you can bring in all sorts of horror films into that question.
Okay.
Shall we talk with spoilers now?
Let's go ahead. Yeah.
The most trivial point I've got. I sound like a dick saying that, but there was no reason besides plot reasons. There was no reason for her to kill the kids at the beginning.
Besides plot reasons.
Besides the fact that they couldn't have been in the film later on, because the film wouldn't have worked if they had two kids to their life.
She's irrational.
Is she? Why?
Well, we're going to spoiler territory. Yeah. She imagines people. She's irrational.
Oh, she
backlashes. The reason why she attacks her friend. Okay, there are two characters in this film. One is the main character called Lucy, and Anna is the other character. And Lucy is irrational throughout the whole film. Nothing she does is, including when she decides.
Irrational, you mean?
No, it's rational, really. Well, I mean, in its own extreme way. No, it's not rational.
Yeah.
Including her backlash against Anna. So why are we supposed that she acts rationally when she attacks her family? And she considers it as well. It's not like if she does it just sort of out of the blue. She considers it and then decides to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I know. But my point is that I think the kids purely only work to add a sort of this humanity to these two people she wanted to kill.
Well, when we look at the family that she kills, and we're given this sort of introduction to them, they are a sort of typical middle-class family.
And that's the only purpose those children serve. And so the director decided he needed to kill them because they weren't any use after that point.
Yeah, but it
didn't really make sense for the story, but it made sense in order to make the rest of the story.
We get characters like that in movies all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's not. It's just something that I think is very obvious, and
I didn't pick up on it being super obvious, because I think the point is that when we get into
why is she killing them? Because it reflects worse on her than it does on.
Well, I think because it reflects. Well, I think what it's trying to say is, because when we discover at the end that this is some sort of weird cult of people that are looking for martyrs and are sort of training up martyrs, training up sort of torturing down martyrs. Like, you realise that basically these are normal people. We're meant to sort of situate them in their normal setting. And the children are a part of what we would consider a normal setting. So I don't think in that sense it's necessarily... And I think the sort of merciless killing of the children speaks to the merciless way in which she was tortured. How deep set a lot of her like feelings are from whatever the fuck happened to her as a kid.
Did you like Lucy?
Yeah. I sympathise with her. I sympathise with her incredibly, yeah. And I think that's quite what makes the film so powerful, is that on this emotional level, you just feel for her. Like, the irreparable psychological damage that's done to her as a child makes what happens to her in the film, and particularly with the self-harm, more impactful.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I also feel she's very hard to relate to.
Oh, yeah.
Because I could understand why Anna wanted to help so much. But at the same time, I felt she kind of deserved what was coming to her.
She deserved what was coming to her?
Yeah, not Anna, Lucy.
Really?
Yeah, because she...
I mean, this is a girl that's been abused from the age of 5. And and all she's doing is striking back at her abusers.
Yes, she was, but... So you think she had a rational response to what was happening to her?
Well, I already said that she's irrational, but the irreparable damage that's been done to her at the hands of these people, whatever the hell they did to her, which is so depraved that she had forced to conjure up false personality in order to self-harm. When you say it is fucked up beyond how did he come up with this? That's another discussion. But like, when you think of that sort of damage that they've done on someone that's that young, the justice in horror movies is rough, and this is a horror movie. This is hard justice, and she is determined. This is one
of the things that I don't like about horror movies. There's just so much irrationality to them that it strains my ability to. I shouldn't say horror movie in general, because it's not true for horror movie in general, but particularly a lot of horror movies, particularly this one, the characters behave so irrationally and so unrealistically that it does really. It makes it hard for me to empathise with them and to just enjoy the film in general.
I think with horror movies, there's less of a sort of impetus on empathising with people, because what the aim of a horror, and I like I said, I don't want to go into what horror movies are, but the aim of the horror movies is to shock, and this film, I think you don't. I mean, empathise is a difficult word. I think it's more sympathise with them that you do in this film, and that heightens the impact. Horror movies will always jump and sort of they'll reach for impact over anything else, and this film definitely does that, doesn't it?
Yeah, but see, okay, so let's talk about it then. Why is it? Why is it trying to shock people and to get? Because it's more than shock. It's kind of this disgust and
yeah.
Why? What's it trying to achieve in doing that?
Well, there's this interesting point that I came across, which is basically that horror, more than most other genres, moves in cycles. As in, with zombies and vampires, things come back around and they go again and come back around, and it's like fashion. Certain things are in, and certain, Supernatural's in at the moment. You know what I mean? That these things it happens in cycles. And the point I made at the beginning about Martyrs being sort of the tied up strands to everything is very similar to basically exploitation cinema, because exploitation cinema pushes back against society's definition of acceptability, and it's this sort of anarchism that when it comes, it sort of just slices through your accepted narrative of what horror is, and that's sort of why I appreciated it so much, because it does that in such a brutal, emotional, physical way. But yeah, I think at its core, it's an exploitation film. Yeah, definitely.
That doesn't really answer my question.
What was the question?
What was the point of it? Like, what's it trying to achieve beyond just trying to shock the audience?
Because but then what's the point of any horror trying to achieve beyond shock the audience? You've identified its point. That's what it is. That is its point.
See, I don't think that. Well, why is the only what's the point in just trying to scare the audience?
Well, you're essentially asking what the point of horror is.
Well, okay, what's the point in horror then? Why do people want to be scared? And if
Well, this is what is so interesting about. This is what I find so interesting.
I don't think it
horror.
is, because you have. If we compare it to like comedy, which I can talk about with much more knowledge than with horror.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have your basic comedies like, I don't know, Anchorman, for example, which probably is just trying to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And fair enough. But then you also have comedies like.
I don't think Anchorman's a basic comedy. By the way. Sorry, I'm going to be really finicky now. Really finicky. But Anchorman's
this is irrelevant to my point.
Yeah.
And then you have a comedy like In the Loop or Love Actually, or these comedies, or something like subversive, like Jump Street. That's trying to do. It's trying to make people laugh, but in making people laugh, it's trying to make a bigger point. So the point of horror is to scare people, but then if you like to achieve something more, to be a great horror film, you need to do more than just scare people.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And so, what does you gave this film 5 stars?
Yeah.
So what does this film do beyond just scare people? Or to freak people out?
I think because towards the end of the film, okay, first of all, I think I don't want to go into it, but I think it does have something to say about fucking class, like most French films, and the sort of a lot of critics, and I don't want to talk about it, but I've sort of spoken about how it sort of evokes the deep set trauma in France over its history, and basically the dominance of torturer and victim is mirrored by the dominance of the upper classes on the culture of the lower classes, the dictation of blah blah blah. I think in the third act in particular, when you just basically what's happening is this girl's getting tortured, and it fades out. Next day, torture, fade out, and it just continues. I think that's when the film really moves into this existentialist territory, where you're just where it asks these really difficult questions at you, the viewer, and at the film, namely, why am I watching this? Why am I participating in this? And by making you a participant in that, I think it reaches something that's really quite profound. I think I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think it does something that sort of asks bigger questions about humanity as a whole.
That's what I didn't like about this film, is that it seems to hate its audience, because the film is very basic in plot, and at times the plot doesn't really make sense. What's the point that the cult want to torture people to get them to be martyrs or to see visions on something? It's very unclear, and it's very kind of contrived. It's basically saying we can't just have torture, because then it won't be a feature film. It'll just be a snuff movie or kind of just irrelevant torture porn. We need to have some sort of basic premise to it in order to legitimize that. And so I don't know. Let's the torture they make to see visions and they'd be martyrs. It doesn't really seem. It seems that the plot is a gateway to the torture rather than the torture being something to.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's true of most horror movies, in that the plot is basically a framework with which the director works. With which the director uses as sort of scaffolding in order to sort of produce scary moments, which is basically, I think, how horror works.
Well, you linked an article to me, which we'll tweet and we'll put in the description down below. It was the Artifice article. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
And he was saying, the author was saying, I don't know if it's he, they were saying that British audiences, and actually French audiences, he says, these sorts of films struggle to find an audience, mainly because the violence is often used to cover, and this is what I'm quoting now, violence is often used to cover up shallow morals in the story, and in some cases little technical skill on behalf of the production team.
Well, that's a bit hard,
in this case, I don't think I think it was very well produced.
Yeah.
But I think the first point in that trying to cover up shallow morals is definitely true. It's not the purpose of this film is to show the torture scenes. It's not to explore wider themes. It's not using torture to explore wider themes.
But why should it have to explore wider themes?
Well, it shouldn't if it just wants if it wants to be very basic. I think if it wants to be remembered. And it was because I could go on the dark, maybe in the dark web. I can just go on, YouPorn or something and type in torture, and there'll be plenty for me to see. If it wants to be a feature film, it kind of needs to do more than just have torture scenes in it.
It does. It has a narrative.
A basic narrative, which is
most horrors are basic narratives. Most of the best horrors are basic. Scream is a basic narrative. What you remember from Scream isn't what you remember from Scream isn't the story, but like you said before, the characters. And like this film, you don't maybe it's not the characters you remember, but it's the sort of shocking moments of the film, and just like the sort of deprived world that you have to sort of comprehend as you go through the film.
I feel, and I think this isn't going to be the title of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
I feel I could watch a torture porn video and I would have exactly the same feeling as I got from watching this film.
But I think you're missing the point.
I don't think this does.
I think you're missing the point. It's torture horrors like Saw and Hostel are like despairing, nihilistic films, and they sort of they encourage. Relish it like I remember yesterday watching Jigsaw.
But you
it's
said
more
yourself that this film doesn't encourage you to relish in the torture.
But I'm not talking about. I'm talking about Saw. And like I remember watching Jigsaw yesterday. Like we were watching and like even a little bit of laughter when some of the more like a guy gets his brain lasered in 8 pieces, and you get a top down shot. Oh, I'm not saying it. And you get a top down shot of like. The brain that's the final shot of the bloody movie. It's like of the brain being split into 8 from the top, and everyone's like, "Ooh!" But there's also a bit of laughter because people are sort of like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" This film doesn't do that. This film is not encouraging you to enjoy it. You're encouraged to identify, like there's dominance, basically encouraged to identify with Anna, and you're encouraged to respond to her humanity and suffering. There's no porn in this torture. It's just torture. You're not encouraged to, and I'll bring a scene to sort of hopefully support this. I mean, I know already you're not going to buy this, but there's a scene where Anna discovers this victim in the cellar, who's chained over, who's just terrifying to look at, like scars all over. She's been covered in a metal vise which has been fucking like nailed into her skull, and her body is just literally like covered in skull. Gollum came to mind, but like much more deprived version. But like our first sort of reaction to that is to just hide away from it and just be like, whoa, no. This sort of like brutalized creature, and there's this point in the film where Anna reaches for her hand to like offer a bit of human contact, probably like the first proper human contact she's like received in a long time. And it's that bit that really sort of got to me and sort of really moved it into like this is sort of really like quite an important, not an importance of the wrong word to use, but like very, very like it's a good film. It was a good film.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said there, which is probably going to surprise you.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the bit I had the problem with. The problem was in the third act where Anna herself is tortured.
Yeah.
Because the torture in the scene you mentioned, it has a point because it's serving the narrative. It's showing what you just said it showed. But then it indulges too far with Anna. It's half an hour of torture.
Yeah, pure torture.
And it forgets there's a plot. And it forgets there's characters. That's what I have a problem with. It's not the first. That's when
it becomes an endurance test. Definitely becomes an endurance test.
But it also loses its point. It forgets why it's there.
See, I think it pummels that point into you, and that is really uncomfortable to sit with. And that's why, like, when we first talked about the film, I said, like, did you sort of take any breaks or something? Because I found when, as it was beginning to sort of, it sets this. I don't say sets. I say it a lot, but like it gives you an impression about what sort of it's trying to get at, and then it just beats it into you in the last half an hour, and it's just hard. It's just so uncomfortable.
I've got bored because it was just seeing the same thing again, and like watching her being hit a lot, and then which is impactful the first time, the fourth time it's not
It goes on. It goes on. Yeah.
Watching her have to eat some weird porridge stuff, and you think that was never really particularly torturous to watch. Maybe a bit the first time, but then there's about 6 other scenes of that. You see what I mean? It's just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, obviously I was struggling to pay attention, and I didn't really get why the main woman shot herself at the end. Because maybe it did explain it, and I just lost interest by then.
I think, and going back to sort of broader point about horror, that like horror frightens us in a lot of different ways. It can they're inherently all dark films, and the way it manifests that particular individual film manifests that is either with like sort of humour, going for sort of like adrenaline scares, like jump scares, or with gore. But this film does something different, which is why I think it marks it out from the genre, which is it basically takes all of the horror from the previous century and basically puts this torturous scenes and like horrible experience into this really like pitiful, heartbreaking, vivid experience which forces us to really feel, which I really felt, and I think that is probably, and there are two sides to this. I mean, I do like what Tim Robey has to say, and I do get what he has to say. Tim Robey from Telegraph. Basically, his summary review is, you really don't need to go and see this film. And I get that, I do get that, but I think like the fact that this film forces you to really feel, and I really felt something horrible, is why it's such an exceptional horror film. But I'm definitely on the other side of it. Like, I was speaking to my friend about the film, and he was like, I'll get the message up. But he was like, he just said the funniest thing after I said to him, I've rewatched Martyrs and fucked me, because I was like sort of, bloody hell. But he responded like, sorry, I have to edit this out.
Shall I say what? Because I would agree with everything you said if the film ended when the, for lack of a better word, Gotham Girl, as you coined it, was shot. Because I thought that bit was a perfect film. But then it got boring, and it lost its way. It didn't really know. That's when I thought it went from, I thought this is just a psychopathic director who just loves torture and is kind of, I felt he was getting off on it in a way.
But that's a part and parcel of like, that's part and parcel of,
and I should say as well, sorry, what were you going to say?
That's part and parcel of why I think it became that sort of forcing us to feel point, I think.
I would, even if that was cutting the length of that act was cut in half, I could probably agree with you more, but it just bored me by the end, and probably that's why it didn't feel as impactful for me as it did for you. And it didn't stay with me because I was just bored by the end, and it lost its way. I do want to say though, I do want to clarify myself. I don't know if you got this impression, but why do this is right, that I'm not against violence or torture in films. It doesn't bother me, but it does bother me if it doesn't serve a purpose. Just violence or not even violence, but graphic torture to that extent for its own sake. That's when it annoys me.
I think that most films, like saying violence with a purpose, is a sort of slippery slope. I think.
Well, violence that serves a purpose in the film. I mean, I don't mind if it indulges a little.
I mean,
but I think there's a difference.
Yeah. In a film about torture, you would expect torture. Do you know what I mean? Like, the point it's serving is for
again, the torture. And the torture was fine in that scene with the girl that you're talking about, or even the flashbacks, or seeing the family getting their guts torn apart with the shotgun.
Yeah.
That I'm fine because it serves a greater purpose in the narrative of the film. But then this extended scene at the end sort of served no purpose.
No, because it becomes a narrative. That is the narrative. The narrative is the violence. But I can understand the dividing line between that, because it is sort of like, and obviously comparisons are drawn between this and the Serbian film, which I haven't seen. But yeah, well, my friend basically like literally said I've seen it, and I was like, I can't think of a film more disturbing than this. A film that, and he said, not neither. A Serbian film, he said, but he hasn't seen it either. So that's all that. Next time I see him, we'll see it. No rhyme or reason for it. it's just fucked. It's just a fucked film, which is what it is. But also, I can think of a film like Irreversible, which I wrote an essay on in Isha as sort of a film, because basically back to Gareth, who recommended me this film. Which,
do you want to explain who Gareth is?
Gareth was my film study teacher in first year of A-level, so I would have been about 16 when he recommended me this film, and I saw it. I think you could get done for that. Recommended me this film at the age of 16.
He's not the best teacher in the world.
No, but like seriously, this film, recommending that to a 16-year-old.
But this was rated in France. This was originally rated like the same rating they give porn films.
Yeah,
it could only be shown in adult cinema.
Yeah.
And then they eventually cut it.
Yeah, and it got an X rating in America. But to recommend me, the 16-year-old, this, and I went and watched it. Horrible experience. For some reason, Michael Haneke, friend of the podcast, has his film. He's mentioned in the same movement for some reason, because apparently Caché is an extreme film.
Caché,
which, if you want a discussion on Caché,
you should check out an earlier episode. I want to know what we discuss in all the podcasts.
Yeah.
So we often just go, we did it somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
And we've only done 7 episodes. 8 episodes, so it's not good form.
Yeah.
Right, so shall we get on to the ratings then?
Yeah, sure. This is quite an interesting one to rate, isn't it? From the 3 standpoints of sort of.
Yeah. So
because
your what's the first one again?
Anticipation.
And
experience and then reflection.
Retrospect, yeah. So what's your in anticipation rating going to be?
I think 3, because it's a horror movie. I never particularly get excited about. You know how you feel excited about going to the cinema to see a certain movie?
Yeah.
I've never felt that way with any horror movie ever.
No.
So in that respect, 3. Yeah. What about you?
I'd say 2, because from the way you described it, I didn't think I'd like it.
Yeah.
And also I don't think you really wanted me to like it from the way you described it. Or you didn't expect me to.
Can you like this film? Like in the definition.
Well, you like is in whatever the 5-star rating would be in this respect. I don't think you expected me to give it that. But also, it's not going to be a 0 or 1 because I was curious. So there was that little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the moment, what would you?
1. And on that point, basically, like. I wasn't sure what you were going to think of this film because it just you don't know what people are going to think of this.
So you gave it a 1 after.
Yeah, it was horrible to watch.
And then you recommend you.
And then what's your experience?
I'd say 2.
Yeah.
Like I said, I liked the first 2 acts.
Yeah.
And aptly, I'll give it a 2.
In retrospect.
In retrospect, I'd give it a 2 as well.
Yeah.
My opinion hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
Maybe because I haven't really thought about it since.
Yeah,
so
I'll give it a 5 because I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. And it did, and for reasons that I'm not going to go into again, it did something to me. And I think it did. I'm happy to know that I'm not alone in that. Robbie Collin, friend of the podcast, gave it 5 star.
Why did you go? How come you're just christening all these people friend of the podcast?
I just think
do I not get consulted about this?
I think Robbie Collin we can call a friend of the podcast.
Has it? So we haven't mentioned him before, then.
Yeah, we have.
It doesn't really matter.
It's just I just like that. Cut this out, but in other podcasts I use it. I quite like that.
I know I do like the expression, but you're just putting names out of the air. And,
yeah. Well, friend of the podcast, Robbie Collin gave it 5 stars, and he's a critic that we are both generally sort of. I mean, not in this film, but generally we seem to sort of agree with him. And I got a bit of solace when after watching, I checked on Letterboxd and saw that he gave it a 5 star. I was like, oh.
And then, okay, so shall we get on to the news?
Yeah. Basically, Michael Fassbender has had a shit year. And I'll read out the films that he's done this year. And they are not, it's not been his best year. I mean, okay, so he's made the Assassin's Creed film, kicked the year off, awfully received, bit of a flop surprisingly. And then he did the Terrence Malick film, Song to Song, which is a film that, according to the Guardian article,
quite quietly. I didn't know it was released until like
a
couple of months off.
I wanted to try and see it. film, according to The Guardian, is so Terrence Malicky that even Terrence Malick promised to stop making films like that now. He also made The Light Between Oceans, where he met his... So it's not been a totally bad year, and he met Alicia Vikander.
That was last year, though. That was May last year.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But I really
okay,
like
so
that.
with... Yeah. Well, he met his wife, Alicia Vikander. And then Trespass Against Us, also he made.
Is that the Gypsy?
Yeah. Which, again, The Guardian says... I agree. 2 films that nobody, not even the handful of people who actually paid to see them, has thought about since the credits roll.
See, I saw Light Between Oceans, and I did think about it afterwards, so I do really like that film. But
Okay,
I know I'm probably in the minority.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to mention another film that he's done this year, which
Yes.
I also really liked.
The Snowman. Have you seen The Snowman?
No, that's not the one. Okay, maybe you're not going to mention it.
Well, because The Snowman is what basically brings this story to light, isn't it? Obviously, Alien Covenant, which you could put that. No, but you can put that in the success. I think with the exception because it made money.
It made money, and I did really enjoy it.
It made me not want to see it.
It made you not.
Yeah, the existence of the film made me averse to the franchise.
See, I really love that film.
Yeah,
it's my favourite Alien film.
Really? Okay, yeah. Well, we'll leave that there. Aliens 2, really? Aliens, and Alien, better than those two.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of either of those films, to be honest.
Okay. So he's had a shit year, really. Basically, it's been calculated that he churns out a disappointment every 8 weeks. And I think the basic question you
turns out a film every 8 weeks is quite impressive, regardless.
Yeah, but basically, I think when you think about what's happened to him, it has been a little bit unfortunate because like the films were like Song to Song was shot in 2012, Alien Covenant last year, So Was the Snowman, Assassin's Creed 2015, and Trespass Against Us and The Light Between Oceans, which you are in the minority because it didn't make much money. So I think you can consider it a flop. Was shot in 2014. Yeah. So basically, it's all of these projects he's been working on have come out in the same year. And the question is like, what do we think of Michael Fassbender? Like, what do you think of him as an actor?
I don't have any strong opinion about him, if I'm honest. I don't love him. I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's not one of those actors who like I'll go on YouTube and watch a load of interviews he's done, and I appreciate him.
What actors do you do that with?
A fair few. Tom Hanks, Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo.
It doesn't really like who it is irrelevant. He's just not. I don't.
No. But I think it's interesting. It's interesting to compare him to his contemporaries.
He's quite like James. Okay, his contemporaries, James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Like ones who are charismatic and like he doesn't seem like he enjoys interviews. And to be fair, there probably are actors who enjoy interviews, but I don't think many of them do.
See, I think that's quite. I thought you would be a real Fassbender fan because he's been in one of your favourite movies, Steve Jobs.
Yeah, that's true.
And he kills it in that movie.
He does.
So I'm surprised there's something different to him.
I mean, yeah. Well, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. He's a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
But in terms of my relationship to him and his films, I whether he's in a film or not won't determine whether I'll see it.
Because he has fallen into that trap, hasn't he, of being drafted into films to sort of rescue.
Because he's a name.
Yeah. He's not that name, I think. Matthew Vaughn chose Michael Fassbender to play Magneto because it gave it a little bit more gravitas. It gave it a bit of prestige, that title. And obviously because Ian McKellen played him, he had to sort of match that. So yeah, because interesting with him is that like I don't think he's not commercially. He's not sort of suited to the big commercial roles that he takes. Because like when you think about his most memorable performances, and is Steve Jobs commercial? Certainly not with the box office it got. But like his role in Shame as a sex addict.
Yeah.
What's that film? The John Ronson book. Frank, the Cardboard Head. 12 Years a Slave. Those are his sort of best performances. And that's where people seem to enjoy him. So why do you think he's taken on board this sort of, going into blockbusters? Why do you think? Apart from money.
Is there another reason? Well,
I think he's had to choose roles.
Well, he was producer or maybe executive producer on Assassin's Creed, so he obviously had an investment.
Yeah. Why do you think? Yeah, well, because this brings in like a big question into focus when you think about all these like thespians, basically classically trained actors.
Is he classically trained though? If you compare him to James McAvoy did it, Tom Hiddleston, Benedict Cumberbatch, 3 actors who still, active on the theatre circuit, who do, I don't know if they've all done, but like Hiddleston and Cumberbatch did, big BBC Shakespeare dramas, and they're still, and they do these indie films as well, whereas Michael Fassbender,
he's been on Broadway, but I see what your point is. What I'm saying is that they're known for their they fall into the category of like British, versatile.
But be careful because Michael Fassbender isn't British.
He's Irish, yeah. Continental actors then, if you will. But like, that are known for their versatility and able to bring I wouldn't go as far as say regal, but like very, I don't know, like prestige, like a certain level of prestige to roles, and they're chosen based on their prestige because of their versatility.
I see what you're saying, and I know the type of person you're talking about.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't define Michael Fassbender as that.
Oh, really? What would you sort of define him as?
I would say he's more like someone more like a Shartel Copley or a. I
don't think that's a bit unfair on Fassbender. Shartel Copley, not a great actor.
Or like a Mark Ruffalo.
Okay, that works.
Not the sort of this. Well guarded, but not kind of this sort of festive.
Thrives better in indie roles, yeah. So I mean, the thing is that we are seeing a lot of these actors come into big productions now, and like, because you think about Thor, which we'll talk about next week, but like, it's pretty star-studded.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of big names in that film. But I think Michael Fassbender sort of is an example, and Benedict Cumberbatch to some extent, I think. Were there people that could play Doctor Strange better? Definitely. He didn't need to play Doctor Strange, but he brought he's similar to Michael Fassbender in that he's brought in because he's a name that adds gravitas and class particularly to a role. But
the difference between him and Michael Fassbender, the impression I get anyway, is that he's not exclusively doing these roles now.
Yeah,
he's still. Well, at the same time, what's the Gypsy one called? Because that's an indie film. That's not. And so the lie between hosts.
He's picking the wrong Trespass Against Us. He's picking the wrong indie films as well.
Yeah, but he's
one of those actors that I think needs to go back to school.
Well, like Benedict Cumberbatch actually does these massive Hollywood movies, but then he'll go back and do Sherlock or that The Child in Time.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender not really a sort of TV guy.
No, and I think
I know a really good comparison to him in terms of acting style, style of acting. Typical roles taken, and if you know those actors where you can think either him or him could play it, which is true of, I'd say, Tom Hiddleston and James McAvoy. They both take they play characters which you can see the other player quite easily, which I think is quite true. Right, Tom Hiddleston and James McAvoy.
I say more Benedict Cumberbatch and Tom Hiddleston.
No, because I couldn't see Benedict Cumberbatch playing Loki, but I could see James McAvoy playing Loki, and I could see Tom Hiddleston playing the character in Split.
No, I couldn't.
Could you not? Okay,
no.
But okay, that's my opinion. But I think the one actor you can do that with for Fassbender is Damian Lewis. Follow Damian Lewis's track. Similar, rugged, similar style of acting. Both bring class.
But at the same time, Damian Lewis, he still does theatre.
That's what I mean. This is what I'm saying.
He probably could have. He's probably had multiple opportunities to pursue a massive Hollywood career.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying.
And
that's what I'm saying. He's a very similar actor. I think very similar actors. He could learn from what Damian Lewis is, how Damian Lewis is sort of piecing together his career. Well,
what I hinted at earlier, we're doing this for his off-screen persona. Damian Lewis is a lot more charismatic and friendly. And I think that's important if you want to pursue this Hollywood career. Is that your off-screen persona is just as important as your acting ability.
But what I'm saying is Michael Fassbender shouldn't. He should take a deep.
Yeah,
because I think no, he's got a lot of big roles to be fair to him, so he's had no problems with getting big roles. But I think he should sort of scale it down a little bit.
Yeah, so I agree.
Yeah, career advice to Michael Fassbender.
And also,
he's married now. He's married to Alicia Vikander, and she's gonna continue to earn big. She's very good at
like Damian Lewis married to a massive, brilliant actress.
Yeah, exactly. No, but do you not think that's it?
No, I do. I don't.
But I think learn from what Damian Lewis is doing, and
in fact, to some extent, I say Damian Lewis is better, or at least I prefer it.
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he'll be alright. It's Michael Fassbender. Yeah, I think but I just think it's quite interesting because I saw this article and it was like, shit, man. Yeah, what do I think of Michael Fassbender? I don't really know because I haven't I've not wanted to see any of his films, and I've not sort of because there was that initial wave after Inglourious Basterds, this new guy on the block, Michael Fassbender, and then he got cast in Shame and got nominated for an Oscar, and was this guy, and then he just ended up being this. After 12 Years a Slave, he was in The Counselor, Frank, great role, not enough people saw it. Then X-Men, Macbeth, Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Macbeth is a weird one.
Yeah, really weird.
Steve Jobs, he probably should have won the Oscar for.
No one saw that film. No one saw that film. And there was no imperative to see that. The marketing on that film was awful. It was really, really badly done.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because it's brilliant.
It is a brilliant film.
Yeah.
The worst thing is that I think the Ashton Kutcher film is probably more well remembered than that one.
Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah. They were there straight away. It was like the day after Steve Jobs died. It was announced Ashton Kutcher to play Jobs.
And he may look more. Anyway, let's not talk about it because we can do an episode on this.
Comparing to Steve Jobs.
No, just on Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
On the film, not the person.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
We could do an episode on the person if you want. Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So it's my choice next week, and even now, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to recommend. But after seeing Martyrs, I knew one thing that I wanted to. Next week I want to review a very upbeat, positive
thank
film.
God for that. I don't think I can handle another film.
No, and that's the thing, because there's films that I wanted to suggest, and I will suggest in the future. But I was just no, that's too downbeat.
Yeah,
So I thought maybe Singing in the Rain. But I thought. No, that's one of my favourite films. I want to save it for something special.
Yeah.
And I
also don't really know what to say about Singing in the Rain. I just
well, there are times I don't know what's said, but then I'll see it again. And stuff. Anyway, and then we started talking about anime. And so I narrowed it down to about 4 or 5 films, right? And this was one of them. And then you mentioned it, and I thought, okay, we'll review this next week.
Yeah.
It's Your Name.
Ah, yes.
2016.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be. And it's not.
The dub version's coming out soon.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Are you a dub fan? In fact, would you tend to watch anime? If you had a choice, any anime dubbed
animated films, I would watch dubbed.
Okay.
Live action, I won't so much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like I care if it's only available.
I didn't realise how much I cared until watching Perfect Blue. Started watching it in subtitled, and then finished watching it in dubbed. Really weird. It's different. It really is different.
Can you tell that it's dubbed?
No, because it's animated. Yeah. I mean, you can, but you can't. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The voices don't match, but the voices don't intonate to that cartoon. I don't know. I do think you watch it differently. I definitely think that. I don't know how. I'm not a scientist. It just seems different.
You mean in English?
It just basically a mistake was made. I watched Perfect Blue half dubbed, half not. It was different. It was different.
Yeah, so we'll review that next week. It's not relentlessly positive, but it is a lot more positive.
I did start watching Your Name last week.
It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot more positive.
Then I got drunk instead, so hopefully it won't happen this time. I won't want to watch it drunk either, especially if it's not dubbed.
Right, do you want to do the housekeeping?
Yes. Yeah.
I see you're very well prepared for that.
Yeah. Okay, so you have been listening to May Contain Mild Peril, which is your premium dosage of amateur movie reviews and chat from me, Arun Kakon, and him, Jack Shepherd. Last time I called you it, that was rude. You can check out our YouTube channel, which we will put the link below, but you can also follow the podcast on Twitter at MildPerilPC. You can email us at mildperilpod@gmail.com, and you can also get in touch with either me or Jack on Twitter, or both, by tweeting Jack at JackMShet, me at Arun Kakon1. We both have Letterboxd. I was thinking about Letterboxd, actually. Why do people need to follow us? They just listen to us. We'll read the listings.
That's why we need to talk about fewer films.
Yeah. We should trim it down to basically 1 film or 2 films, best 2 films, so to speak. 1 good, 1 bad. Maybe, I don't know. But you can follow me on Letterboxd at Kakarun, Kakarun. Happy crossed 60 followers yesterday.
I don't know how many I've got.
And Jack at JackMShet with the JMNS.
No capitalisation anymore.
No,
I got annoyed with you kept saying. I don't think it matters if you put capitalization.
No, because Letterboxd is case sensitive. It's really annoying. I tried to follow my friend, and he had capitalization.
There's no capitalization's now gone anyway.
Fantastic. And that's Jack M. Shep. So thank you very much for listening.
Wait.
Oh, what was this?
Wait. How many followers did you have?
61.
Oh,
how many? Yeah, how many did you say it? I'll just look it up.
Well, you can look it up. Okay. It won't be on the podcast.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening.
I got 42.
42. Nice one. I'll catch up then.
Nice. There's a competition now. Follow me. Don't follow him on their box.
But thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you. See you next week. Oh, happy Halloween.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's very. Right. Bye. You gonna say bye?
Bye. Yeah. See you next week. So I'm looking at how many followers you have now.
I just told you.
Are you doing 42? Oh my god, you're using tags as well.
Yeah. Well, what if I did a proper review? I did. Anyway, let's stop recording now.
Oh, we're still recording.
Yeah. See ya.